Hi, and welcome to Feature Fridays. And my name is Guy Bartram. I'm the Director of Product Marketing at VMware in our Cloud Services Business Unit. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Justin Fox from Green Cloud Defense. So Justin, please give everyone an introduction of yourself.
Hey everyone, again, my name is Justin Fox, Senior Director of Product and Software Development here at Green Cloud Defense, and certainly happy to be here for this Feature Friday.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us, Justin, and thank you for what you're going to run us through today, which is all about Green Cloud Defense and specifically some of the innovation you guys have been doing with Tanzu and portals for your customers. But let's just reel back a second. Let's just start with what is Green Cloud Defense? How long have you been in business? What sort of services do you provide? And just talk us through the name change, because there was a name change recently.
Yeah, sure. So Green Cloud, we've been around 10 years. This is actually, I think in July, we just had our official 10-year anniversary. We're going to have a celebration here.
Congrats.
This month, actually, an employee celebration. Yeah, big milestone there for sure. We started and have been a VMware cloud provider for the last 10 years. That's kind of our core business, offering an IaaS infrastructure service on top of with the Cloud Director platform, right? Going back to the early days of that platform for sure, and we've come up to the modern and been on that journey with VMware. We've evolved some of our product sets over those years, adding in backup and DR, some with third parties, some with VMware solutions. And we also added in the Horizon DAS platform, so we can offer DAS as well. We do shared multi-tenant, right, based on Cloud Director, like I had mentioned, but we also offer a dedicated private cloud, so we can stand up dedicated infrastructure that's running VMware vSphere, for specific individual tenants that maybe they have certain unique requirements that maybe the multi-tenant won't work for. So we kind of are your your one-stop shop for all your cloud services, if that's what you need. And just recently, we made an acquisition earlier this year. So kind of talking about the name change that you had mentioned previously, we started as Green Cloud Technologies. And then earlier this year, we made an acquisition of a managed security service provider out of the West Coast. They were named Cascade Defense. So we rebranded to Green Cloud Defense. So we still keep the brand that we've built for 10 years of Green Cloud, still continuing to develop, iterate, and sell those cloud services. And we've added a whole suite of security services. So that's where we dropped technologies and changed it for defense. So that was a big thing for us this year. We've been looking at getting more into offering full kind of turnkey security services for a little while, and building all that out is certainly a challenge. And so something like an acquisition can help kind of move you ahead a little further. So we acquired a great partner, a great company, I should say, and which brought us a wealth of security experience and a SOC and all that. So it was a really good fit, and with our vision and what we wanted to do going into security. So just things aligned, and we were able to do it and get it completed. And so we're off to the races in 2021. And it's been kind of great. I'd say we have a unique position in the cloud world. We are a channel focused cloud provider, so a little different than some of the other ones out there in the market. We don't go direct to a customer, right? We want to work through managed service provider community, VARs, and the agent community. That's kind of where we want to work through versus kind of going direct. Simply because it allows those that channel to choose how they want to approach it. Just kind of pass through if they want to kind of brand their own cloud or their own security services, but use us in the back end. They can do that. So it offers a lot of flexibility, and then we're not competing with them. They MSPs, they're the ones with the relationships with the small business and the customers, and those relationships are priceless. quite frankly, in the small business world. And so that's why when we started 10 years ago, we decided to build it as channel only, and just have continued that through the years. And I'd say we've been successful. We've made it 10 years, right? So
Yeah.
it's been a fun journey, and we're excited about where we're going in the future.
Yeah. So okay. So you've seen quite a historic amount of change then in VMware Cloud Director. I mean, you must have been one of the 1.0 adopters in that case for 10 years, because VCD was 10 years old last year. So that's quite something. Congratulations on that, and thank you for staying with us.
Yeah, it's been a fun journey for sure. So
yeah, I'm sure. Ups and downs, I imagine.
absolutely. Yeah.
So from a point of view of let's just rewind 2 seconds. So you said you made an acquisition, and did that acquisition come with a VMware customer base as well?
No, the security acquisition did not. We've made a couple other acquisitions over the years that did come with VMware customer base. Those were more cloud focused acquisitions previously, where we were, either expanding a book of business, or we were expanding a data center footprint. Maybe we didn't have a presence in a particular region, and we would acquire someone in that region that would give us an immediate presence, and we wouldn't have to stand up an entire data center. We're not a facilities company, so we take down space in the larger facilities, simply because it's building a facility is quite expensive, and so we didn't think that when we started years ago that that was really the right way to go, and we've just continued that, taking down space in the kind of the larger data center providers.
Cool. So your customers then are other partners, basically MSPs, like you say, and you are in the business of delivering your platform and platform services to them to be able to deliver their services onto their customers. They own the end customer relationship. Correct.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
And you weave in the MSSP services as well in there as a value-added extra, or is that a part of the platform portfolio that's kind of rolled in automatically?
So we weave it in there as optional. We've kind of found over the years, giving partners and MSPs options to kind of, versus bundling stuff and almost requiring it in a way, so that they don't feel like they have to buy something or pay for something that maybe they're not going to use. So we offer them that can be weaved in. They can also be purchased independently. You don't have to purchase our cloud services to purchase our security services. Right. And of course, security extends beyond the cloud. It extends to premise. It extends to the remote workforce, and the like. So, and additionally, partners, MSPs, they've obviously got stacks of their own that they've built kind of over the years as their security approaches evolved from traditional endpoint protection and things of that nature to more modern approaches with EDR and such. So we didn't want to make it them feel like, well, they have to replace what they've built operational process around. So we've got a variety of offerings that can build upon what they've built, and that way they don't have to change their process. So that was kind of a big thing, and we try and take that same approach with the cloud as well. Don't change things that, if you've built methodologies and how you work. And that's actually the beauty of Cloud Director, right? Especially as it's evolved. In the earlier days, it was quite a different UI than vSphere. But they've kind of where we're at now for sure today, in the 10x build. vSphere and Cloud Director are very, very similar interfaces. So it's not a big shock for vSphere admin to suddenly get into Cloud Director. So it's been kind of nice for us to have some of those things, but we really want to augment that MSP. We want to be their cloud department, their security department. We would prefer, obviously, that they don't go stand up their own take down space in a data center and try and invest all that capital to go stand up a cloud infrastructure. We've already done that. We've got it. We know how to do it. And it's the same thing with security. Don't try and go build out a SOC. let us take care of that. We've got the experts in-house, and we're going to continue to grow that as well. So
yeah, it's definitely a model I'm seeing more of now. Around the world, there's various providers out there who are doing exactly that same model. Instead of a partner having to go to a hyperscale provider and deliver on a totally different platform, what they're used to is VMware. They can now come to a company like yours and deliver the same VMware services they've always been delivering now on your hardware, and then complement it with your services. And like you say, it's really interesting because I think about 5 years ago, everyone was bundling services together. That was kind of the big kind of trend. I guess it got a little bit inherited from telco, but that was the way it was done. The more you bundle, the more discount you get, et cetera, et cetera. And now we've sort of gone whole reverse out of that into actually, it's a catalog of services. Just click what you want and off you go.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We had some bundles a few years ago too that we've kind of since broken apart. I mean, I think it's just the evolution of the markets offering more diverse offerings, and so you have to adapt to that, to say, well, if the market has a wider selection now, maybe we do need to find those pieces that can complement what other market pieces may do. So, and this is the same way in security. We have one of our security offerings is SEM based offering, and that's one of those that just kind of fits right in. A lot of MSPs out there probably already have an EDR platform and endpoint protection. They've already got email security and some other security stack, and so firewalls, maybe whatever it is they're using, but they're missing that centralized aggregation and SOC, right? And so that's kind of one of those things that we decided to go to market with as well. So.
Cool. Okay, so let's talk about the stack you've got then, and what we're here today to talk about, which is more around the sort of Tanzu play. How did you first of all, where did you start with Tanzu? What kind of made you think about this transition and how it would fit into your existing portfolio?
So we've been keeping an eye on containers for a little while. It's been around for a number of years now, and trying to figure out, from a product focus, how can we educate that MSP community on how this can benefit them? And that's a pretty challenging thing in small business, right? Small business, enterprise, a little different. Small business, which is really what the MSP focuses on, small to medium business. And so, we saw a lot of challenges, feedback we were getting from our partner base in the communities we're in. Everyone thought it was neat and interesting, but finding use cases to adopt it was challenging. So, we were looking at it from that perspective first, but then we have, our partner portal that we call it, where our partners interact with us. They can come in, they can transact, build service orders, etc. And they can have some visibility into some of their services today, right? We have some integration points into Cloud Director and, Cloud Director availability and some of our other products. But we decided a few years back now that we wanted to expand that partner portal capability. So what's the best way to do that? And we started looking at how the current infrastructure or platform is built. And it would be built as a traditional monolith, right? It's a number of years old now, from the standpoint of its genesis was a number of years ago. So we're like, how do we further improve our way to iterate? We've added a whole bunch of security products. We've added additional cloud services products, and we need to at a more rapid rate be able to ingest feature functionality into our partner portal, right? We want that to be the entry point into our services and interactions with Green Cloud, beyond really just transacting and maybe subscribing to an email report. We want to be able to say, hey, look, come in here, and this is where you interact with us for call it 80% of what you need to do with us. So that was kind of the question, or the goal. How do we do that, and how do we make the platform more nimble to be able to create new integrations at a much faster pace, but additionally, at the same time, be able to iterate in an integration without having to, do an entire release of the entire platform, which with
Got
a
it.
monolith, that's how it's got to
Yeah.
work, right?
Yeah.
So
So you had a slightly different use case then. So at the
Mhm.
same time as kind of looking at this as potentially a customer offer for your portfolio, you have what every service provider has, a lot of operational support systems and business support systems.
Yep.
And probably like most service providers, if not every service provider, over the last 5-10 years, grown an interface which has got more and more complex, more and more
Yes.
slow, and grown to, and I guess it goes back to that sort of that bundling conversation. It's about providing that granularity of service, being able to iterate new services far more proactively, far more agile in terms of your delivery, without infecting your production instance. And particularly for you guys, when you got multiple partners, so who uses the interface, the portal today? Is it your partners use it to set up the customers and customer services, or is it the interface for their customers to use to get into the green cloud infrastructure?
So we've actually got three primary audiences.
Okay.
We've got the partner, and that for them to interact, the partner can choose. They'll have control to enable, maybe if their customer has internal IT access into our portal, to be able to interact with just their customer or that end customer services. And then we have Green Cloud Internal. We use it as well, right? I mean, it's our portal that kind of runs our, that not kind of, I mean, it does, it runs our business, right? It's where the transaction information's happening. And so, when we're taking support calls, the support team needs to get in, look up the account, see what services they have, understand what region or data center they may be in, to go make sure they can properly, support the customer or the partner. So those are the three primary audiences that we have. So trying to take all of those into account. To your point, we have a lot of operational systems underneath to help operate it.
Yeah.
We have a lot of different data center and locations where those operational platforms are. So kind of we start. We're changing a little bit our viewpoint of our partner portal, in that we want to drive even greater adoption than we already have. And we're going to do that by focusing on really from a product perspective, almost pivoting from just a utility that you get as being a Green Cloud partner to a product, to a value proposition of Green Cloud is this what everybody wants, that single pane of glass, right? So try and build it as close as possible. And quite frankly, the putting in a nimble platform underneath, like a Tanzu, really is going to enable us to do that, right? To the points we talked about just a few minutes ago, where rapid adoption, rapid deployment, and then rapid modification of stuff that's already deployed, which is going to be I think very, very, very important for us as we go forward.
Yeah, and as being in product management, you understand that obviously it's important to understand customer usage of the service and which services are being used in what ways. And you get to now build in those KPIs and metrics into the platform. So it's far easier for you to see what's working and what isn't working, for you to make, future product choices on.
That's right. Absolutely. So as far as the journey, we took that goal, right, and we started looking around and determined that microservices was the way to go, building upon a containerized platform, and so this happened a couple years ago. I would say as the journey started, and then it was, okay, well, what platform do you use? Because there are a lot out there, and so. We were tasked, our chief architect and a couple of the devs, to go, do some homework and let's try and find what we think would be kind of the platform to start with. So we looked around. Obviously, the open source community is great. There's a ton out there, but one of the big keys for us is supportability, and the ability to get support if we need something. And so we started looking at more paid solutions that maybe we could, use some open source pieces, but start looking at some more enterprise paid type solutions. And we just kept coming back to Tanzu because we're such a big VMware partner already. So we've been with VMware 10 years. Obviously you guys started a few years back, getting this journey going with Kubernetes. And so, we looked into it. We ran some of the, we used the hands-on labs to just kind of, kick the tires going a little bit, get some hands-on experience, see what we thought, and then started we started putting together a journey map of how we're going to get from A to B, because we can't just get to, you don't just jump right to end stage. We have to iterate. And so the first thing was, let's get it going, get the infrastructure going, follow the reference designs from VMware, who you guys had those for us, and then start building that infrastructure. So we spent a fair amount of time, I should say, about maybe close to a year, implementing the infrastructure, implementing and updating our CI/CD pipeline processes, integrating with Git, so that we can have release cycles, source control. All that stuff had to be ironed out, documented, so that when we wanted to start going to production, we had kind of some guidelines on how we can go about it. And of course, as you know, that's always going to be improved upon, but was we spent a little bit of time getting that in place first, that foundation, for us to then start adopting and start writing some microservices to interact with the portal. And we've got a handful written today. Probably the most prominent one we've written for ourselves is our integration with Cloud Director Availability, where that was a product we actually released this year as well in 2021.
Okay.
We previously did not have a DR offering with Cloud Director Availability, but we've been keeping an eye on that product. Once we took part in the beta for version 4, and we're really pleased with where it had come from a maturity standpoint. So we decided we wanted to get that product released, and so we released that as a service, and of course we built upon that with our microservice integration to our portal. So it's actually quite a nice integration. There's what I've got some examples I can show of that here.
Absolutely.
Kind of how that interface looks like in our partner portal. But of course, underneath, it's all running on the Tanzu Kubernetes Grid platform, and which is really, really, really neat. I mean, we've already got some, backlog improvements to tweak some of this, and the fact that we can just release just that microservice cuts the release time down exponentially, right? Versus the monolith side. So it's we're pretty excited about it, and we've got a number of other ones in flight too. We've got some integrations with VROPS, another VMware product. So those are all active today, but the DRaaS with VMware one is the biggest.
So this is so just to be clear, then you've got your VCD stack, you've got your VCDA stack, your availability stack, you've got a whole load of other stuff like monitoring, you said. And then you have a separate Tanzu Kubernetes Grid instance, which is then running the portal, and also calling all of the backend integrations and to your CMDB and your other OSS and BSS that you have, orchestrating the whole thing. And is this being used for like complete life cycle from standing up a new partner, delivering the service for the partner, activating the service for the partner, configuring it, to deleting and removing the service when a partner chooses they don't wish to have the service anymore?
So it's used to stand them up and enable the service. We don't use it to do set up protections, simply because sometimes they go to the product for that, because we don't that's something that they kind of need to determine what they want to protect, different profiles they want to pick for the SLAs inside of Cloud Director Availability. Additionally, sometimes the workloads aren't in our infrastructure yet. We have to first migrate workloads in, and so for now it's building the Cloud Director pieces, the VDC, the org, and then enabling the appropriate VCDA pieces, and then on termination, we disable. That's just kind of policy
and
here.
remove. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll the system will disable, but it won't delete. We have some cleanup that the team will go do. We have a policy where we delete after a period of time, but it is possible that they could call in for a huge favor if they need it. And we're in the business of helping, but we help where we can. The partner, that's kind of one of our value adds, because we're partner focused. If the partner is not successful at getting their customer to adopt cloud or security services, then we're not successful, right? So it's a little different mindset than kind of going direct to an end customer.
And some of the integration in the back end, is that using Terraform, or is that using the kind of BCD APIs and BCDA APIs, or are you actually using the Terraform provider with BCD?
APIs. So
APIs,
we're doing all API. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So should we have a? Sorry, come.
Yeah, I was gonna say there'll be some stuff that we'll look at doing some Terraform with in the future, because Terraform's got such a list of supportable integrations. So we'll look at some, but at times too, it can be another layer, right? That maybe you don't need if the APIs are there for you, and we've already got know how to code to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of that's going to depend on documentation, right? The API documentation for Cloud Director and Cloud Director availability is solid. So we didn't have any issues coding to it, which was
glad to hear. All right, so let's have a look then. So you're going to show us now the Cloud Director availability portal for partners to go in and be able to provision. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to show a previously, so the orders provisioned at this point, and I'm going to show. So we focused on the provisioning piece, and then the visibility piece is kind of what we focused on, which is the partner wants to see the status. Hey, how do I see the status of my protections?
Yeah, sure.
How many I'm protecting, how much storage I'm consuming, and things of that nature. So that's what I'm going to show in some of the interactive ways that we built it, so that the partner gets a good experience.
And just before we go into that, just obviously here, there's 3 layers. There's you, the partner, and the customer. And the partner is interested in the customer consumption and generating a customer bill. Obviously, you're interested in the partner consumption and generating a partner bill. How are you collecting that in the portal? Are you doing any integrations with billing in the portal and able to show utilization from a billing perspective, a metering perspective?
So that's actually one of our differentiators. We don't follow a metering model. We're allocation. We some early on in the days when we were doing partner research, and that was, I think, a challenge of hyperscale adoption, was the metering model, 95th percentile, things like that. Yeah. And this bill that kind of does this, and the small business doesn't like that. So we came to market and have done this for a number of years now, of just, you pay for what you want, and that, it's kind of you can use up to that or less than, but your bill stays fixed. So that's kind of that model that we went with. So will be able to see usage, contract versus consumed, and that allows them to make calculated decisions to adjust the service with us. So that gives them time to go have a conversation with the customer to say, hey, we need to increase your bill, or hope, sometimes good news. Hey, look, we see that utilization is actually a little lower than what we originally thought. We can actually reduce that service a little bit, which is always a good thing, right, to do in small business. You get a nice win to both the partner and the customer.
So you're using an actual reservation model then in BCD and saying, right, we're reserving this amount for you.
Correct.
You can use up to it, but there isn't anything else. And that kind of work, I guess, from a service level, that really works as well, because you want to ensure the partner service level is 100% in terms of resource utilization. And with the reservation model, okay, they're paying for stuff that potentially they don't need or aren't using, but you're guaranteeing that service level, which they can then pass down to their customer.
Correct. That's absolutely correct. Yep.
So, okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, great. Let me get my screen shared here. Can you see my browser?
It's just loaded. Yep, got it.
Great. So this is our partner portal. And this is kind of the UI that they would see. You can see there's some different menus across the top that they'll have access to. It does have some role-based access control. You can assign partnerships, different levels, or users, different levels of access, which will change the top menus. You can see I'm under the account Green Cloud Demo. I am in as an admin user of that Green Cloud Demo account, so I can see all the menus if I need to. And you can see what it's green. We're on the services menu, and we're under the DRaaS with VMware Service here. And you can see we've got my account, and then of course just some details about it here. So what we're doing is we're making the API call here to the container, which is then doing an API call into the Cloud Director availability endpoint.
Yep.
So
your parent account would be your partner account, and the account would be their customer account potentially. Would that be right? Yeah. Okay.
That's correct. Yep. So partners Green Cloud Defense, which is us, and then of course the customer's Green Cloud Demo. You can see we've got a subscription. So a lot of our stuff works on subscriptions. That's where you build your services. So, all the different piece parts you'll need to make the service complete. If it's DRaaS, licensing, how many workloads do we need to protect? How much compute do you need to reserve in the DR side? How much storage do you need? A firewall, NSX Edge or something, bandwidth. Those types of how many public IPs, so that essentially the DR environment has a set of resources ready in the event that you need to declare a disaster. There's no having to stand up resources or any of that nature. The virtual data center in Cloud Director is built and ready, which of course it has to be for VCDA, so that it has the resources that in the event if a partner wants to declare a disaster, they can execute a failover, or they can call us and we'll execute it on their behalf. So we give them flexibility to do either of those.
Justin, does the partner customer come through on dedicated links, or do they come through over public internet for the service?
Over public internet for the service.
All right. Okay. So you're going to be doing some routing updates at the back end just to make sure it all fails over correctly and they can still reach their failed over. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a bunch of other stuff as well, I guess, to consider here, which we often don't talk about, which is things like the licensing that you mentioned and public IP and the transition from your active primary site to your secondary recovery site, and the migration of the public IP is just a matter of obviously flashing the root caches and updating the routing tables. But the licensing, how do you guys handle the licensing for someone like Microsoft licensing, for example?
So we're a SPLA CSP from Microsoft. So we're a CSP direct. So with our IaaS and infrastructure, we provide a Windows Server license as part of the compute bundles. If you need additional Microsoft licensing that we can offer on the SPLA program, SQL, RDS, every now and again someone does ask for Exchange, but those we can obviously supply on a SPLA basis. Right. We are also a QMTH partner with Microsoft, Qualified Multi-Tenant Hosting Provider. So that enables partners who meet those requirements with their open license and software assurance to apply for license mobility, to bring their own licensing for things like SQL or RDS, should that be what they want to do. And then, of course, as part of the QMTH, if they have the appropriate subscription from 365. The appropriate subscription levels, they can get shared computer activation for things like Office and Windows 10 Enterprise into our DaaS product, and things like that. They can add those licenses on a subscription basis and utilize those in our infrastructure. So that's kind of how we approach that.
And just for my education, SPLA licensing, does that cover you for, because it's licensed per physical host, right? Does that cover you for core? I can't remember. Does it cover you in the secondary site with the same license?
It is per core. That is how Microsoft starting with Server 2016, they switched to the per core model. So we license our cluster underneath,
Yeah.
to cover all of that. And we include, whether if you're going from green cloud to green cloud, one region to another, you're certainly covered.
Mhm.
If you're coming from prem to green cloud, there's some conversations around like OEM and things of that nature. We do include, again, in those, we sell compute bundles, so CPU, RAM, and things of that nature. And so we include and tally Windows licensing there to cover that for the partner. But there are some use cases around OEM licensing that the partner needs to be aware of. So typically our recommendation to our partners is avoid OEM licensing where you can for your server
Yeah.
infrastructure, because it's got a lot of limitations. It's
Yeah.
cheaper, I get it, than open, but with the cloud world we're in today, you're much better off going open, and quite frankly, investing in that software assurance. I know it's more expensive, which is a little bit of a hard sell, but the flexibility that it offers to the partner to move, even if it's a couple years in, to move to the cloud and continue to get the benefit of that investment is good. In my
Yeah.
opinion, it's worth it. So,
Otherwise, I mean, you don't want to end up paying double, do you, eventually, for having to
yeah,
buy different
no,
licenses again?
yeah. We
Okay.
had that issue for a number of years before Microsoft. They I think they heard their partner feedback with Office, right? Office did not have mobility.
Mm.
So if you had Office 365 or you had an open license of Office, you couldn't use those in a shared cloud environment like Green Cloud or a hyperscaler. And so they heard the feedback and they kind of tweaked their program, especially with the subscription with 365, enabling partners to then not have to double pay, which obviously was very welcome from the Microsoft partner community and from us as CSPs.
Yeah.
It was very welcome from us as well. So.
For sure, for sure. Okay, so we're looking at here the state of replicating VMs for your customer through the portal.
Yep, and you can see I've got 7 here, and one's in yellow. So clearly I've got one that's in a warning state underneath, and we're consuming, the replications are consuming about 200 out of the 500 gigs that are contracted on this subscription, right? So
Right.
we can see that we're still well under usage, which is great. Gives us the ability to, we decided not to build the product for Cloud Director availability around charging for different SLA profiles. We're just all about the storage and saying, look, just make sure you have enough storage, and then you can tailor your workloads as however you see fit. Instead of them having to pick and choose from a budgetary standpoint on, well, we can't do platinum or gold or whatever for all of them. We're more like, if you have the storage, you can do gold or platinum for all of them. Excuse me. That's really kind of what we wanted to build. Simple on the sales side, simple to understand. Just make sure you have enough resources, and then protect the workloads how you want.
Okay.
And so under details, we've just got some expanding menus here. Again, this is making an API call to the container, which is then reaching into to VCDA's API. And you can see now it's going to give us a list of the VMs, the VApps they're in, their configuration, which is always nice, their storage that's allocated, and then the consumed storage that we're seeing from the replications, which is pretty neat. So we see we've got a variety of different workloads here in our environment that are being protected. And from there, if I want to maybe drill down a little bit more, I can click any particular one, and it will expand and kind of show me the checkpoints that we have. And so on kind of the vertical axis, we have total amount of data transferred for that instance.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the time, right, of that. And so you can see we're obviously not, we're transferring a whole lot of data here. These are demo servers, so not a lot of change rate. But you can see that does that. And if this maybe isn't as consumable, you've got the status, the profile they're using, what the RPO of that profile is, the retention distance, our latest instance, right, which is from today. You can transfer this to a list, which makes it a little bit more human readable at times, but given the partner, the options, and they get to see all of the the different ones. And when you change, and of course it collapses the other one and then opens it up. So this is obvious. This is all HTML coding here, but this is pulling and grabbing this data set from VCDA through that container that's running on Tanzu underneath. And it's quite nice because now the UI here of the portal is just making an API call to a container, right? It's not having to reach out to the VCDA endpoint. It lets the container handle that because we have 6 data centers across the United States. And so, based on up here, you'll see the subscription says Houston. So that's actually our South Central data center location. And so VCDA knows, and it can take this subscription, which is associated with the Houston facility, that will then allow it to just make that appropriate call underneath.
I see. Yeah,
it's quite nice.
Yeah, that's quite smart. Yeah, I recognize some of the stats
mimics,
here in the graph. Sorry. Yeah,
and this UI mimics a little bit of what you would see inside of the VCD plugin for Cloud Director. We kind of wanted to keep that same experience. Again, 80% is kind of the target for us, knowing, so we'll always have that plugin enabled. Partners will always be able to get into Cloud Director, but we want them to, for just quick access, this to be that, call it that single bookmark they need to make. Come into the Green Cloud portal, and from there you can get wherever you need to go. Ideally, they'll get all the data set and everything they're looking for from the portal, but in the scenario that they can't, they'll be able to jump from the portal right over to their service. So that's kind of the journey we're on, right? Is translating a lot of what we're doing, into this portal UI, all powered by that TKG infrastructure underneath.
Yeah, that's real nice. I mean, it's really good to be able to see in one place, when you build in more services into here, to be able to see all of your services centrally located in a single place. What does the dashboard look like then? If this is the service view, right?
Yeah, this is the service view. The dashboard view today would be more for, we don't have a VCDA dashboard. This would be more for services if a partner wanted to see their specific maybe spend that they're doing or things of that nature. We haven't added any of this over to the dashboard. The dashboard, we're having discussions on use cases and redefining the use of the dashboard versus services, and trying to that way to target it a little bit, where if you want service information, we kind of want you under services, and going to specific services, and then maybe dashboard will focus more on business metrics, spend, invoicing, maybe total number of partners, things like that. Give them that business information that lets them know how they're doing across Green Cloud services.
Right. So you obviously worked out which instance to hit in a cloud-to-cloud scenario with the like you said, the Houston piece in the subscription name. So programmatically, the portal application knows then to go and run a query to a specific instance of VCDA and retrieve the data. What about things like, and I'm not sure if this really matters for you guys, whether you're actually charging for this, but things like data transfers, like with the volumes of data being transferred at specific times. Are you charging for any additional things other than the allocation of storage for this service? So if I was a partner and I wanted to see the cost of my DRaaS service with Green Cloud, what am I actually going to be looking at when I look at that, other than just the consumption of storage and allocation of resources?
Yeah, I can take you over to the actual service order.
Okay, cool.
So here's the service order, right? We obviously randomize a number. It tells us the account, what's its status. It's a demo, so it's all $0.
Yeah, sure.
But if I view the service order, excuse me, you'll see the services up here, and these are just the pricing depends on the partner level, the rate plans, things of that nature. But you can see these are all the things we're billing for. So we've got our DRaaS with VMware, and you can see it's tied to the data center in Houston. I'm buying bandwidth, I'm buying the storage, buying the VMware licensing. I'm reserving some compute, which is at a discounted rate because it's reserved but not consumed.
Yep.
And then of course firewalls and NSX Edge, and then I just have a public IP. And this is cloud to cloud. So I've got my infrastructure running in our Atlanta data center. And you can see I've got this similar looking, we call these bundles. So you'll have, you can see the difference is you don't have a VMware license, right? Because that's
Sure.
on the other subscription. So we break it down pretty granular for them to pick and choose and build what it is they might want to consume. So if I wanted backup services over here in my IaaS, I would add a line that says, IaaS backup, and that would be you'd need to buy storage and you'd need to buy licensing for that, right? Because there's two charges for IaaS backup. So, but this is how you would build a service order. If this was from premise only into our cloud, the IaaS subscription would not be here. We would only have a DRaaS subscription because we don't need a source subscription because it's on-prem, and so we're not in control of that. So that's how that would how we do that.
And just out of interest, do you set the bandwidth in Cloud Director availability, or is that something being done on the networking side?
So this would be an NSX Edge. So we would do that on the Edge and Cloud Director, right, through the API call to.
Right.
I get the API call to Cloud Director via NSX.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And we do support non-NSX based firewalls. Those for rate limiting we would do on the port inside of vSphere. So
right.
Yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, I can see here then you've got a number of hooks into basically into Cloud Director availability with some additional kind of pieces into NSX via Cloud Director, right? You're always calling the Cloud Director API directly.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So you can see this total for this size would be 752.66 to the partner, and then they would be able to put margin on top of that. For the service that they want to charge. Gives them flexibility with what they want to do, allows them to make some points.
And do you go ahead and, or are you capable of creating that bill? The partner just wanted to use Green Cloud and actually bill the customer from this portal. Is there an ability for the partner to then add their own services and their own markup on top in some sort of customized way? Or do they take this and edit it?
Yeah, we'll send the partner the invoice, and then they'll take it into their system. We can do on a one-off basis some integrations into some of their PSA platforms that are out there, but it's on a case-by-case basis for the partner. Sure. We've had that question asked actually a number of times recently. That's one of those things, much like what we talked about bundling things earlier. We have a couple partners who do ask about it, but for the most part, 95% of the partners have some type of PSA and billing system in place. Yeah. So in reality, I think probably what we're going to ultimately end up doing is enabling those PSA system integrations to our engine to push into theirs type deal. Versus us ingesting from them. We'll push out to them since they've already got that infrastructure and those workflows in place and those processes. We don't need to try and force them to change that. Yeah,
just pick a couple and get your certification for those done and off you go. Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. Oh, this is awesome. Okay, great. So Tanzu underneath, anything worthy of note in there? Is it just an instance of TKGS running by itself? Is there any other additional extras? You mentioned earlier that there may have been some shareware components in there. What does that Tanzu stack look like?
So we've kind of adopted the piece parts that VMware uses. So we've got the TKG as running. We've got Istio running for some of the service mesh. We've got Flux, we've Prometheus, Grafana. We've got all those piece parts running to complete the stack to enable us to kind of go forward. Where we're at today is focusing on purpose-built microservices And the next step of our journey will be focusing on microservices, calling other microservices, where we'll be building and focusing more on event-driven workflows. So building the event bus and all that. And we've got some, it's escaping me the name of the security piece for authentication and authorization with the secrets to make sure that everything is communicating in a secure fashion and proper authorizations happening and authentication. But the piece part, it's a VMware recommended part, right? So we're trying to our best. For, again, supportability is huge for us. We're not the largest dev team, so making sure that the platforms we're building and working with, we can be supported should we need either guidance on design decisions or we're having a problem with something and we need it resolved. You know, that's critical for us. So you know, we look at what the VMware recommendation is, and most of the time I would say we go that route. There might be a couple times where it just doesn't work for us, but that's not very common.
Yeah, keeping it, unless there's a specific reason, keep it as vanilla as you can, I suppose, is the recommendation.
Right.
Well, Justin, listen, thank you very much for showing us around. This has been really interesting. I'm really excited to see how this progresses, and you know what your kind of next portal updates look like, because I think it's going to be a very nice addition to your service, like you say, and being able to provide that centralized view for all your partners, you know, is ultimately going to drive you more consumption, which is, I guess, the end game. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, Guy. I appreciate it. You have a good rest of your Thursday here, and yeah, we'll go from there, and we'll keep you updated too. Love to keep you guys up to date with what we're doing and how we're progressing along. So
yeah, we'll have you back for a second round.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks.